We are extremely blessed to welcome David Braid to the pub today. Welcome, David.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And you said you're a cognac guy. Uh, if you were here, so I do have a bottle of Remy Martin
Oh yeah.
cognac. So I got a little taste of that in the cup.
All
So
right.
uh,
Well, I have something here as well, which I thought could be a bit of fun. So I'm just going to pull it up in front of the camera here. I have, I mentioned I'm a bit of a cognac guy, but I'm really not much of an anything guy. But I do like the taste, in particular, of Armenian cognac. But I don't have any with me right now. But what I do have is this bottle of cognac here is 55 years old. All right. So I thought,
oh
like,
wow.
maybe I should take a sip of it and see what it's like. What do you think?
I think that would be wonderful. That's the nice thing about whiskey is it doesn't go bad, as it were,
Well, let's see what
or
happens. If
cognac.
if I drop dead, then it'll be all on live
Yeah,
stream
yeah.
here. All right,
We'll
let's see.
we'll
So I'm
have
gonna.
it. We'll have it on camera,
Good Lord,
and
I have no idea what
hopefully,
this is gonna taste like.
where you're in Ontario currently, right? I don't
Yeah,
have
in
to
Toronto, and it
Toronto.
could be my place of death in a moment.
Uh-huh. Well, I just if I need to call emergency services, I
Yeah, I
need to
should.
know what city to start
Yeah,
looking.
yeah, I should text you my address. Okay. Anyways, do we try this?
Sure.
I don't know. Well, seems to have lost some of its nuance. Let's say. I think it. I think it tastes like alcohol flavored water.
There you go. Well, you're I'm
Whoa.
guessing you didn't buy that because you don't look that old.
Yeah, no, it was this. I actually know where this came from. Well, I have three siblings. So my eldest sibling, Sam, this this was this VSOP from I think it's from 1970 or 1971, was a gift to my parents at his baptism. My parents don't drink, so it's been sitting in their cupboard, you know, for decades, a half century. So they finally, cleaned out their cupboards and they had all this. I think they gave away, unopened scotch from 1971 to some very happy
Oh wow.
people. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
But
wish I knew them.
yeah, I know. I'm like, you did what? So, but this one, they said they didn't give it away because it had been opened. So that's why I took it, and I thought I'm going to wait for some unusual opportunity to 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 to
And
to
lo and
try it.
behold,
Yeah, here we
here you
are.
are in the pub.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know who David Braid is, who is David Braid?
Well, that's a tricky question, but I guess I could answer it in the standard way, which is I suppose by profession. So people would know me as a composer, as a pianist. I don't like the word teacher. Um, Perhaps mentor would be a more appropriate description. I did for nearly 2 decades teach at the University of Toronto, in the music department, of course. I don't currently, and I've taught at a lot of universities and colleges all over the world. In fact, uh, I think probably every Canadian university, many in Europe, in Asia, in Australia. I'm also a father. My daughter's 12, and my wife is Christina. We've been married for 20. Well, this year will be 25 years. And
Congratulations.
thank you. I mentioned I'm one of four children of my parents, and I don't know. Should I keep going? Is that enough?
Well, and that's where you and I met. You were doing a show
Mm-hmm.
here at the last minute,
Mm-hmm.
um, with for Carlos Foggin or whatever he had
Yep.
arranged it,
Mm-hmm.
and we know him well because we commissioned him to
Yeah. Yeah.
do the Litany of Saint Joseph
Yeah. That
for
was
us,
great. A great piece.
and I think that's how you got to know him. Is you had found the litany or something,
It
and
was through a mutual colleague. So I was, as you know, I was just recently in Calgary. Recent, of course, is a dated thing because this is going to be on the internet forever. But the end of 2025, I was doing a residency at Mount Royal University and University of Calgary. And besides doing some teaching at those two schools, I had a fairly significant premiere of a saxophone concerto that I just finished for a Calgary-based saxophone player and good friend, Mark DeYoung. And since I was there, Mark graciously decided to try and um, find some more opportunities for me to share my work in Calgary because it had been probably 6, 7 years since my last concert there. So Mark knew Carlos Foggin at the Polaris Theater, and Carlos he's got obviously a great imagination for music, but he's also a bit of a pianophile as I am. So we had a nice chat about his great Steinway there, and he graciously invited me to or hosted a solo recital there, which is where we met.
where you fascinated me with just the sheer talent and yeah, using chopsticks on a
Right, I did
Steinway
that at
was
that concert.
a very interesting. I'd never seen a piano played that way, but the talent is amazing, and you've been recognized for that talent with 4 Juno awards, is my understanding,
Hmm.
and you've gotten into the religious heritage of recent, right? Because you were mainly a jazz pianist before, and or that's where your compositions had been, or is this something you've done for a while?
So yeah, a little about my musical story, which will answer your question. Uh, I began music lessons when I was extremely young. I believe I was just barely 3 years old, and my older brother that I mentioned, who I'm drinking his baptism's brandy here, um, he was taking, being 4 years older than me, he was taking piano lessons, and he had taught me to read some musical notation. So I guess I had a knack for it. So did he. He's quite a talented musician, although he's not a professional. Um, However, we went to this teacher who was elderly at the time. This is the very late, the last years of the 1970s. And probably if she was teaching today, she probably would be in jail, like in the sense of she was very violent, let's say. And it completely terrified me to the point where I was getting sick every Tuesday afternoon because I knew I had to go to her house for piano lessons. And but apparently, and I don't really remember too well, partly because I was too young, and probably the other part it was too traumatic. But apparently, I was progressing quite well, and but eventually, my parents, who are not musicians, just said, "Okay, you don't have to do this anymore." So I stopped very young and did not touch music at all, really, until years and years later. So in that sense, I was a late starter in, let's say, the type of training one would require to have a career in music. So, in fact, it wasn't until I was 19 years old, and of course, I'm old enough to have gone to grade 13. So, I had finished high school a half year early. So, beginning the second semester of my grade 13 year is when I really sat down to really get serious about studying music. Um, so, in the process of doing that, the first musical door that could open itself to me was the let's call it the creative musics, the ones that didn't require excessive technical background or and so on. So naturally, jazz music was the first musical door that opened to me. And of course, I ran through the first available door. In the process of learning that art form, I learned a lot about, the foundations of musical design. But after some short years studying, it was clear to me that there was more in my musical future than what that particular art form made available. And I also knew that foundationally I was a music maker rather than a music craftsman. In the sense I was a composer primarily. I was a maker, So what happened was I've, been out performing publicly now for 20 years, 25 years. And fast forward to today, and what I found is more musical riches in the as I travel abroad and in different countries and listen to folk musics and different musical systems around the world, I'm pulling in those interesting musical ideas. And as well, at home, I find no shortage of musical mystery in studying Western classical music. So I'm this sort of hybrid creative musician where I'm taking in a background which is comfortable with improvisation, that naturally relates to music composition, but and that's naturally a music maker, and I'm combining it with interesting musics I encounter in different parts of the world, Western classical music. Now that said, one musical form to me that always strikes me in the center of my musical being is choral music. And when I think back at the first time art music really spoke to me, I was in grade 9, and I have an older sister who's quite gifted in the visual arts, and she was taking an art class, and she forgot her lunch or something. So I had to take her lunch to her art class, and her art teacher, this great teacher named Patrick Conway, he opened the door to me so I could give my paper bag to my sister, and there was this Renaissance choral music. It was Allegri's Miserere that he was playing in the background. I'm like, what is that? The harmony was so, for lack of a better term, soul stirring, And I said, can I have that? And he gave me this brown cassette tape, which I played probably 500 times, at home, and never gave back, of course, and so that is something about, I think, the combination of the human voice, this deep text, and the way sacred music, well, maybe I can put it this way. What fascinates me is how in archaeological sites where musical instruments are found from 10, 20, 30,000 years ago, they're in these places of ritual. That, when I started learning about this, it sort of blew my mind. It's like music has this other ability to speak beyond where words can't, and it can access this deep feeling and this longing to communicate or express or so, whatever it is. I can't spoil it with words, so I won't try. So this choral music that I heard as a young teenager was really made a mark on me, because this is a deep way to express things that are not expressible, to, for lack of a better term, to try and reach across into from the everyday into a divine sort of space, So that always stayed with me. And it was around 10 years ago, actually, that a music festival in Northern Ontario called the Sweetwater Music Festival, the artistic director at the time, great violinist and great fellow creative musical explorer, Mark Theuer is his name. He's now the director, I think, of the Stratford Festival, but at the time he was directing Sweetwater. He commissioned me to write a piece for community choir. So a choir that's eager but not, let's say, hardcore musical training. One professional soprano soloist and a professional small orchestra. And I thought, oh, wow, this is my first chance to actually write a piece of sacred music. So that's what brought me, this is what brings me to answer your question directly. This commission, I went searching for, like, what can I choose as a text to set? And around that time, I was familiarizing myself with this diary by Saint Faustina. And it's an amazing, someone should make a film out of it. It's just it's a very powerful document, book, journal, testimony. There's many adjectives you could use to describe it. But there's a prayer in that book called the Divine Mercy Chaplet, and I noticed that there were no at the time no classical music settings for this particular prayer. There is sort of like some pop music versions, which I find really cringy. Like, and no offense to anyone who likes creating that style, it's just the sentimentality of the music does not, for me, embody the deep reverential feeling that one might have when you want to express that text. So I thought, okay, this is a great choice to match up for this commission. So I went ahead and set the Divine Mercy Chaplet to music for this choir, soprano solo, and small orchestra. The other bit of that piece, which is not interesting, is that it was, I think, my first composition that I wrote that I wouldn't play myself. It was for the musicians at this festival. So I just sat back. I was writing from the perspective that I was not a music maker or an improviser or anything like that. It's just a standalone piece that could be sort of played by anyone without me being there. And I have to say that it was a very, very challenging project because because my background, when I mentioned I'm drawing from different musical styles, there's this challenge of me creatively to bring the representation of those different styles into a Western classical music art form. And that translation of that material, I think, was an interesting creative challenge for the composer myself, but also for the musicians interpreting it. And because of that, the piece hasn't really ever had a fair public performance. The premiere we did, at the time, I was working a lot with this orchestra in the north of England called Symphonia UK. And the director, very good friend of mine, Lee Tang is his name, invited me to do the premiere. And the premiere was a bit of a disaster. Shortly after that, we had a second concert in Liverpool at this beautiful outdoor space. And like, as soon as the piece started, like, somehow this motorcycle gang, it's like an outdoor classical music concert, and this motorcycle gang, like, it's like drowning out the music, so it was like a disaster. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe I should give up on the live performance and I'll record this, So I'm very lucky to have some good pals who have this really great orchestra in Prague. So I phoned my friends up and I said, I want to book this orchestra session. We need a choir. And I gave them all the specs. So, the soloist, Patricia O'Callaghan, flew in from Australia. The conductor, Nicholas Smith, flew in from Beijing. And Lee Tang flew in from the UK. I flew in from Toronto. My family was actually with me. And so we all flew in. We're all in the recording studio. And I've worked in this recording studio many times at the Czech national TV station. So it's like a great studio. And I noticed, like, nothing's happening. There's all this, like, chattering and murmuring. So I'm like, what's going on here? Anyways, they said that there's some sort of electrical problem in the building, and all the microphones have this electronic buzz, and it's not something inside their walls, it's something out. So there's a choir there, there's an orchestra there, all these people. We can't do the session. So we canceled it. There's no contract, of course, because this was a deal between the friendship between me and the orchestra booker and the friends between the orchestra booker and the studio. So and all the musicians are there. It's not their fault. So that was a
Well,
grand disaster.
Satan really didn't want you to.
Well, this was kind of our theory, and I mean, I won't. I've been talking too long, but I will say that I had to book 3 more sessions before I had a workable recording of the piece, and then I don't know, maybe there was 150 hours of studio time to actually piece it all together. So it was a long and arduous project, and I always just thought it was, I don't know if ironic, maybe more than ironic, that it was so difficult to just, to manifest this musical representation of such a sort of profound piece of
Well,
spiritual
and it's a
literature.
very powerful prayer, and just I was in Poland just recently in
Mm,
September,
no kidding.
visiting the site of Sister
No kidding. Is
Faustina,
that right?
Saint
No kidding.
Faustina, and yeah, and we were there, and Jeff Cavins, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him from the Hallow app or
Oh
the
yeah,
Great Winter
yeah, yeah,
Bible.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So
Sure.
he does the daily reflection, and he was the leader of the tour, and we're at the site of the Divine Mercy site,
No kidding.
and he tells this extremely powerful story of just how deep it is, that the commandant from Auschwitz, which we had visited the day before,
Oh man.
which is an incredible experience in and of itself, actually asked for forgiveness, went to confession. Like, it's
Whoa.
hard to even comprehend how deep God's
No kidding.
mercy runs. And so that's where I've been putting on men's conferences for 29 years, and we have run into those technical difficulties that
Oh, is
you
that right?
described.
Is that
I
right?
had 3 different recordings going on one of the talks, and not one of them worked.
No kidding. No
And
kidding.
it was a very powerful. So I can see where something is as beautiful and important as the work you were doing, there would be uh, some attempts to slow down the work or give up, or
Mm.
uh, well, even the commissioning of the litany, because we had COVID hit, and
Oh,
it
was
just,
it at that period? Oh, I didn't realize that.
yeah, and just, well, it had hit, but it kept going, and
Okay. Okay.
then trying to, oh, this person would be great to lead the choir, talk to that person, oh yeah, and then you don't hear anything,
I see. Okay.
and then okay, that date's not gonna work, let's get another date, because trying to coordinate the booking of the Jack Singer Concert Hall with the
Of
booking of an
course.
orchestra with the
No
booking.
kidding. Yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about, I'm sure.
100%. 100%.
And then so I get another guy on board to help build the choir, and fantastic Mark Dumbuik, and he I've got the concert hall booked for the fall of 2024, but he's getting married that summer, and just, I nope, we're not going with that date.
Okay. Okay.
And then the next date, March 17th, 2025. I don't care what's happening. We're making it work this time. and 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 it I described it as soul penetrating. Like, you talked about, it's hard to describe just how music is so powerful, and I've had some experiences like that. I too am not, well, it was actually probably one of the Divine Mercy ones that you were talking at that got me thinking about doing something for St. Joseph, because you look, they had 20 million views or something on
Oh,
YouTube,
is that
and
right? Yeah.
I'm going, okay. And I do like the one singer, especially the male, has an incredible voice. I only found out after I got him up here that he wasn't Catholic.
Oh, is that right?
and speaking at our men's conference. But I think he was meant to be here, and then yeah, it's just those moments, those experiences. Like I remember being in a CC as they were doing the morning prayer there and the chanting, and just it's incredible to hear that sacredness. And that's why I wanted to have you in the pub, because listening to you that night and just the experiences that you've had touring the world and seeing the different um, cultures and traditions, and just how music, I think, is an avenue to bring people together. That
Certainly.
and food.
Yeah, that's true. That's interesting you mentioned that because I think of that too. Those are the two things where, I mean, I've never said this before, so I don't know if I can put my thoughts yet into words properly enough, but I'll try. Um, what I want to say about that is, I think, what's the word? How do you say that word?
Ecumenical.
Yeah, like there's this movement that idea can somehow, in my opinion, be, for lack of a better term, abused to get into this fallacy that, well, all things are just the same. Like it's all the same. Like this faith is the same as that faith. Like for the emotional purpose of feeling unified in that moment of saying such a thing. And I think that's a kind of a trap. Um, that said, I find that with the performing arts and with the sharing of food, we start to tap into, for sure, the common bonds that unite humanity on a deep level. So, and what strikes me in particular with on the music side is melody. Like, why is it, first of all, why is it that some melodies live on for thousands of years? Why do people need to keep singing that? What is special about that? What meaning is there in that? And not only that, but you could take a particular melody of one culture and present it to a person in a completely different culture. There's these wonderful YouTube videos where people are experiencing music from not their culture and being moved by it. So to me, there's something in particular about melody strikes at the core of a unifying dimension to all of us. And I think the other and more obvious example of that is food. The way Uzbeks cook lamb could be completely mouth-watering delicious to someone who's not Uzbek, who's never tasted lamb cooked in that way in a fire pit in the ground, or however they do it when they, for example. So it's the idea that the sharing of food of different cultures is another thing that can be unifying. And so I really am grateful for the opportunities, and some of them are quite astonishing, where I'm, because of my, like, I feel oftentimes that I'm the luckiest person in the world because I get to be pulled out of my everyday and be displaced. Here I am, off the top of my head, November 2022, my first tour after the pandemic. I'm on the top of a mountain outside of Almaty, Kazakhstan, with a Kazakh string quartet and some of their colleagues who want to welcome me for the first time to Kazakhstan before we premiere my music with them together. And here we are sharing this boiled lamb, and a lamb's head gets put on my plate, and I'm told I have to carve up this lamb's head and give a different part of the head to each person at the table and say, give some wisdom as I'm thinking, this is an incredible, like, experience, but the observation of how that can unite people, I think it's not a lightweight thing. I think it's a profound thing. And I just mention that because there's these days more and more I hear this talk where people try and use that idea in the topic of religion. And I'm not sure it can't be the same thing. There are differences. And I think I'm not educated enough to get into a theological discussion about that, and I don't think that's not the purpose of why we're chatting. But to your point about unifying people, it is a wonderful blessing for me as a performing artist to go to places in the world that I never thought I would ever be, present my work, and feel like I've made a connection with our brothers and sisters in different parts of the world who may not share or probably don't share our faith tradition. Yet we're still not limited in being able to connect in some way that has a deep, deep meaning. I think that's my point.
Yeah, and that's where, like, we're all about evangelization, and that's the keeping that door open. Like, we're trying to reach men and meeting men where they're at, but when you were talking there, so our concert, I had filled it out because we didn't want to rent the Jack Singer and just have 45 minutes or 35 minutes of performance, right? You need a full program. So the first half, I had a Vietnamese choir from Calgary, a
Oh, yeah.
Nigerian choir, uh, French, African choir, high school choir,
Wow.
the chaplaincy choir, which is the young professionals, and then Michelle Todd rounded it out for us. And beautiful, and just seeing the universality of our faith
Mm.
was something incredible. And the bishop was talking about it the next night,
Oh, yeah.
just seeing, and I had others comment that it did what I kind of hoped, to just see the universality of our church. But then the bishop spoke about seeing members from those choirs in the second half form the choir for the litany, and showing that unity of all these different cultures coming together with the one purpose of joining their voices,
Mm.
this
Mm.
beautiful piece.
Mm.
So
Mm. Yeah.
it was pretty powerful,
Yeah,
just
certainly.
bringing them together. And that's always looking at ways that we can do that. As you know, Canada is quite a diverse uh, country, and I've spent 33 and a half years policing in many of the
Oh, is that
different
right? Yeah.
cultures. Yeah,
Uh,
so
uh,
I've always tried to build bridges in that, and just make sure that your authentic self, trying to reach out to a brother. It doesn't matter
uh,
what where you're from, or and that's what's important, is recognizing
yeah,
their,
shared individual dignity of each
yeah,
person.
the
100%.
dignity of the human person is so important.
100%. 100%.
So what, on the food end, is there a food or a dad's dish that has your family clamoring for more that you make, or?
Well, I am the primary chef, so
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. I mean, maybe I've cooked 10,000 meals by now, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm into it, but it's just sort of my nature. Once I get interested in something, then I sort of have this, I don't know what it is, an axiom. No, it's not an axiom. It's whatever. It's a
You're a
thing,
you're
a
a creative.
weakness maybe.
Yeah, you're a creative guy, and food lends to that creative
Yeah.
side of you, probably.
Yeah, certainly. And I think I have this idea that if you just try 10% harder than average, you yield 50% more or something, you know. So I always find
Yeah.
if you just go a little bit harder at something, just past the average point, then all of a sudden you get into this other area of wonderful results. So perhaps that's also pushing me, but um, I, uh, I would say that I don't have any real specialty except, you know, because I'm traveling a lot, I try a lot of different foods. So then I try and, you know, it influences me and um uh I might buy a cookbook from a certain country that's, you know, might have an English print of and just try the dishes at home. And what I like about doing that is I like to see what the, you know, this is connects to sort of what we were just speaking about, where I like to see what's common and what's different, you know. And um but in terms of having specialty sort of things, I mean, um I don't know. I mean, everybody seems pretty happy with what I'm putting on the table every day. So I think I'm doing the basics well. I think that's just it, you know. I'm just doing the basics well.
And
Um
that's
and
probably
you
what.
know, trying to work with the freshest ingredients possible because that's starting on the right foot and yeah, just doing the very basics thing well. That's it. That's it. And I think if you do that, what I've noticed now is you have to start spending a lot of money at a restaurant to do better than what you could just do at home. You know, so I think once you've got the basics covered and you're working with good fresh ingredients, then you know I think you've got 50% of the restaurant and maybe more covered. You know, so I
Yep.
guess that's all I can say about that. I guess.
And that's where I struggle paying big bucks for the barbecued meats when
Right. When
quite
you're
often
nailing it
well
home. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I've competed in barbecue competitions
Oh,
against
really?
restaurants and stuff
Oh,
and
no
place
kidding.
better than them. So yeah.
Wow, no kidding. Well,
Yeah.
kidding.
So it's I'm more of the comfort food
Oh, yeah.
guy.
Wow. Can't
My
go wrong.
brother's more he likes to try the higher end approach, and so we our family dinners were always almost cooking competitions
Oh,
because
yeah.
we'd all
That's
bring
good. That's fun.
something, and it was everybody. So it's always been fun in our house, and I might have to pick your brain to because you've got an experience that most of us don't of tasting food from around the world
Mm.
and being able to appreciate it.
Hmm.
So if you can suggest some flavors for our mild sausage.
Oh, yeah.
So every year at our men's conference, Spalumbo's a great uh, great local place here. They
Okay.
make they make their own sausages. So the last couple of years, we've had our own signature flavors. Uh, so the Terror of Demons is a cheddar jalapeno with some Texas chili in it
Oh,
that
yeah.
my Robert, one of the founders of Heroic Men, grows in his backyard. So it's pretty spicy.
Yeah.
And then last year we had the uh, the curry bratzinger,
Oh,
and
yeah.
but I'd like to find something different for the mild flavor this year. So
Hmm. Well,
put that in the back of your mind
yeah,
and
yeah.
give
Well,
me some.
the thing that jumped to my mind, which isn't exotic, of course, but it is a little bit, is and because it also connects to Calgary. While I was there, a colleague or a few colleagues got together and invited me for breakfast before I left. And one of them, he was from Newfoundland, and he gave me a package of Newfoundland savory, which I had never had before. I've had savory many times, but the Newfoundland version, the taste is quite distinct. And I just
Oh,
used it recently. I was cooking a dinner for some guests the other night. I forget what I used it on, but it's fantastic. And I was thinking if you're looking for more of a savory thing, you can buy Newfoundland savory in stores. So maybe that
oh,
could
I've
be an
never heard of
interesting
that,
one.
so I'm gonna
Yeah.
go looking for it.
Yeah, if
I
you can't
heard
find it, let me know, and I'll ask the guy. He's I think he's the tuba trombone player in the Calgary Philharmonic. Dave Reed is his name. He's the
okay.
one. He's the one who gave it to me. So.
I'll have a look. I know my son was talking about having pickled moose meat from Newfoundland.
Oh,
That
really?
was really good, he said.
No
So
kidding. No kidding.
they
Interesting.
yeah, they so and that's the beauty of all those cultures is we have a community here called Seeds of the Word where
Mm.
a lot of them are from Brazil.
Oh, yeah.
So I we just had our now it's become an annual Christmas dinner that we host. God Squad hosts the Seeds, and the first year, because they're up here not able to visit with anybody during COVID and away from their homeland for been a few years, and so I looked up what they serve in Brazil, a traditional dish. So I made feijoada, and then there's a cheese bun that
Oh,
they
yeah. I know those. Those are delicious.
and yeah, they were over the moon by just having that food prepared for them and
Wow.
served.
No kidding. No kidding.
So it's a great way to comfort or reach out or
Yeah. Yeah.
evangelize.
Yeah. I
So
think, I mean, yeah, with that point about preparing food that references something they're I mean, it's like the same achievement in music where it's you're expressing something uh, that I mean, taste taste you can't taste anything by describing it in words. You know, it's like an experiential thing. Like music is an experiential thing, and taste also connects with smell, and smell and taste connect with memory. And I think yeah, that's interesting. There's another dimension to sharing a meal with someone when you go out of your way to prepare something that's from their culture. I think there's a subliminal message of respect. We would hope, anyways.
yeah.
That would achieve. So that's very cool that you're doing that.
Well, and I everybody asked me, "Well, what'd you do?" I said I cook with love, and they well, I make chicken and I love, but mine doesn't taste like that. They that was but yeah, so whereas I want the doors open to all men to know that they have a place and a brothers that want to walk with them, and you are such a great example of embracing what God has gifted you with and sharing it with the world. Like turning that Steinway piano into a Chinese harp was mind-boggling at your performance, and it was that's one of the reasons I really wanted to speak with you. Just you were very generous with your journey and where the Lord has taken you. Uh, and I look forward to seeing where He continues to lead us together. Uh, I'm I'm definitely going to hold on to your number.
Sounds good,
uh,
Sean.
and so I don't know if you know the term whiskey comes from a Gaelic term called Ishkabaha, which
No,
means
I didn't know this. I didn't know this at all.
water of life. And
Oh,
my
really?
prayer is, yeah, my prayer is that you continue to lead many to the true water of life through your music, through your life, and through your actions. So,
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for joining us in the pub for this episode of A Dram with Friends. Go to heroicmen.ca to see what we do in this mission, and you can donate there to support stuff like A Dram with Friends. Please like and subscribe on all your YouTube and podcast platforms to help us grow our audience. Thank you. God bless and have a great day.